Okay, here's a new video. As always, I'm gonna go through hey, there's a little baby lizard on the table. As always, I'm gonna go through a meditation to begin the video, and then we're gonna get into the main subject of today. So, I kind of want to return back to the basics of the breath practice, which I will do, at different intervals. I'll complexify the breathing patterns through videos, but then every once in a while I'll return to the basics. So I'm going to return to the basics today. What we're going to do is we're going to do your classic 3 cycles of the G breath, and I'm going to guide you with the inhalations and the exhalations, as well as, whether to breathe mouth or mouth nose, etc. I just want to say though real quick, in my last video I said whenever I was talking about whenever I give the breath code that it's always in first and then out, which what I meant by that was for that particular breath, because there's another form where whenever you give the breath code it first goes out and then in. So I just wanted to make that clear. But today we're just going to go through, I'm thinking 3 cycles of the G breath, but actually what we're going to do is we're going to go through a gamma breath, and then on that second mouth we're going to go backwards through the Z breath. Sorry, so we're going to do a full G breath, and then on that second mouth we're going to go counterclockwise through zeta. So so just follow along. So and remember, full deep breaths. Deeper you breathe, the better quality of your breath, the more of an effect that you will get, and the greater the maneuverability you will obtain through your energy. So, and today is Kin 117, which is the very end of the Red Serpent wave spell. So, what a great way to end our wave spell with a breath lesson. So, because we always have a lot of energy that we need to work through. You know what I mean? So just follow along. We're going to begin with an exhalation, and then we're going to get into it. But I'm going to guide you through it completely. Just remember, deep, full breaths. And we're also going to take a little bit in between each breath to, after we breathe in, we're going to hold it for a little bit, and then every time we breathe out, we're going to hold it out before we take our next in breath. So just follow along, okay? So first, begin by exhaling all the air out of your lungs, out of your mouth. Breathing in through your mouth. Breathing out through your mouth. Breathing in through your mouth. Breathing out through your nose. Breathing in through your nose. Breathing out through your nose. Breathing in through your nose. Breathing out through your mouth. Breathing in through your mouth. Breathing out through your mouth. Breathing in through your nose. Breathing out through your mouth. Breathing in through your nose. Breathing out through your nose. Breathing in through your mouth. And breathing out through your nose. Breathing in through your mouth. And breathing out through your mouth. Just give it a moment. Stabilize. The breath that we just did essentially was, we went, I don't know if it's showing up, if mirrored or not, but basically we went, it actually maybe mirrored me doing it this way, but whatever. We cycled through the G breath clockwise, and then once we hit that second mouth, what we did was we went back through counterclockwise. So basically, every time you do the G breath, what you're doing is you're drawing up more energy. You're drawing up more information. You're drawing up more light. You're drawing up, more data into your mind. But it also moves you forward. It gets you out of the place that you're stuck in, which most of us were caught in a primary percentage of one of these brain waves. Because the thing is that our brain actually, different parts of our brain are connected to the different chakras, right? But yet at the same time, we have the different brainwave frequencies going off in different parts of our brain, right? And the thing is that we have an overall percentage, which was not an overall percentage, but the one that has the highest percentage is the brainwave that we are currently in. So a lot of times, everybody gets stuck in a particular brainwave pattern. It changes, but when we get stuck in that pattern or that brainwave, like for instance, when we're stuck in theta, we're stuck in information, we're stuck in storyline, right? And we can't let go of it. We can't move forward with it. We can't, go into delta, which brings it into action, right? Brings it the focus back into our bodies. Or whenever we're in mouth nose, we're caught up in emotions. And if we're too caught up in that emotion, then we can't understand the information that is contained within that emotion. So the purpose of the G breath, as well as the Z breath, aka the fusion breaths, is to basically cycle through all of them for the main purpose of actually creating a diagnostic scan of figuring out where we're stuck at, and then allowing that energy to basically move through and move us into the other parts. It's sort of like a full spectrum in a sense. Gamma increases, whereas zeta decreases. So the purpose of the breath that we just did was we drew up, or we moved ourselves forward and processed all the things that are going on in our collective brain. But then when we went back through zeta, we simplified it and concentrated it, basically deleting, we generated all the information that we needed, that our brain needed to consider. And then when we went through zeta, we deleted all the crap that we didn't need, and it simplified us onto the one particular thing that our body and our brain needs to focus on. And the thing about the intelligence of the body is that it knows. You don't so much have to tell the brain and the body what to do. You just have to really step out of the way and access it to understand what it is telling us, right? There is an inherent intelligence that is within us. And I speak about this all the time. Christ is us. We are Christ. And the ultimate goal is to try and become like that archetype as much as we possibly can, and to get out of our egos. And so the purpose of the breath, the purpose of breathing and breath work is to help us reach that potential. This is why we always ask, what would Jesus do? And what Jesus would do isn't necessarily always what you would do as your ego, or what I would do as Matt. You see what I'm saying? But anyways, it's like the overall arcing message that I'm speaking about is that there is an intelligence in this universe, right? And its language is mathematics. And by us, setting our egos aside of what we think the truth is based upon our own personal selves and our desires and our fears and all those things, by attuning ourselves to the universal intelligence of our Lord God, it basically allows us to reintegrate with that. A lot of themes in spirituality and religions is to reunify, which we're never really disconnected. It only feels that way in the illusions in our mind. Okay, so and as always, I want to talk about this divine design, this divine system, this divine structure. One of the key things in the Holy Bible, the King James Version, is, which I just want to describe real quick. The reason why I use the King James Version, and that's really the only translation that I read, is because it's pretty much the only one that retains the mathematical significance. It retains the mathematical truths, because the translators who switched it over into the King James Version in English, they understood those things, right? And therefore, it actually retains the mathematical qualities that it had in the older languages. So just be aware of that. So basically what I want to talk about today is, let me find the verse actually that, or one of the verses. It actually mentions this multiple times. So yeah. So for example, Matthew 3:2 says, "And saying, Repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." As well as Matthew 4:17 that says, "From that time Jesus began to preach and to say, Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." So what we're talking about is this phrase, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And the deeper significance and the meaning of this is that the very intelligence of God, as well as very specific mathematics, are actually encoded on our hands. And yes, I'm aware I have very large hands for being such a small guy, but, it's whatever. God made me a certain way. Monkey hands is what I call them. Monkeys have very big palms and long fingers. But, so within our human hand, there is very specific mathematical principles as well as specific numbers, and this is intelligent design. It's right here in front of us at all times. And the reason why the hand is so specifically important, that God is trying to tell us about our hands, is because our hands is how we communicate in this physical world, how we take action, for the most part. You know, how we do things. We can't open doors without our hands. We can't feed ourselves, really, without our hands, you know what I mean? We can't type on a computer or text on a phone. We can't draw a sword or properly hold a shield. We can't write. We can't, you know what I'm saying? We can do if we didn't have, if our hands were cut off, you know, we could still adapt and survive. But the main point of it is that our hands are how we interact with this world. You know, that's the significance. It's not the only thing, but it is the primary way that we interact with our physical world. So the hands are key in order to complete our handiwork. So, yeah, one of the main things that I want to talk about is septonary gematria. So let me find the cipher here so I can show you. I don't know if it'll show up correctly, but hang on. Trying to get it in focus. Sorry, it's not coming into focus, but basically what it is, and I've showed this in previous videos, so if you want a more clear picture of it, just comment below and, you know, I'll direct you to my Instagram, which it's on there, as there's other sources as well. But basically what it is you break up the 26 letters of the English alphabet, the Angelish alphabet, and to two sections of 13. So you have the first 13, which is A to M, and then the second set of 13, which is N to Z. And the numerical values that correspond to these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, resting on the 7th, resting on the Sabbath, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's very cubic in nature. If you look at the cube, what it reveals to us is 6 sides, all centered around its center point, which is the number 7. So 7 is the center of the cube. 7 is the center of our alphabet. Now you can look at a lot of things through simple gematria, simple English, which is basically the numerical values of the letters are just whatever number letter they are. So for instance, like A is 1, B is 2, etc., Y equals 25, and Z equals 26. And there's actually a lot of interesting correlations that you can find there. There's also very intelligent design within that cipher. But this one is even more specific. The interesting thing about the number 26 is that, first of all, it's an even number, but its two halves are made up of odd numbers, so 13 and 13. Not every number does this. Take the next even number, 28. 28 is made up of 14 and 14, which, again, you know, those are two even numbers as well, and you can't, you know, if you were to, you'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm sure you could do that as well, but it's very specific when it comes to the numbers 13 and 7. And this is scientifically proven because of the things that are contained within the cipher itself, okay? My point is that the mathematics that make up septonary gematria are based upon the cube as well as the menorah. It's encoded on the emblem of Israel. It's encoded on the United Nations logo. It's encoded on the dollar bill multiple times. It's all over the place. And there are people who are intentionally designing it and putting it into their own logos and design structures and stuff. It's very, very specific, and it's very significant. So, what I wanted to talk about today, is the hands and the interesting mathematics of the hands. As a primer, to talk about the basics of the hands is that we have 27 bones for each hand. So in this hand I have 27 bones, in this hand I have 27 bones, okay? The 27 bones are made up of your 8 carpals, which are these bottom palm bones, which also make up the maneuverability of our wrist. So the carpals are also known as the wrist bones, right? Then, down here you get into like the 2 main forearm bones, but there are 8 bones here that give you your movement of your wrist. And then at the base of the fingers in the palm, you have your metacarpals, which are 5 in number, right? 1 for each of the the digital bones. And then you have your digital bones, which basically just means finger bones, right? And these are also known as phalanges. And for each of the fingers, right, because the thumb is different, for each of the fingers you have 3 phalanges. As you can see, you have 1, 2, and 3 bones, right? Whereas the thumb only has 2 phalanges. So in sum total, you have 12 for your finger, 3 for each, and then you have 2, which gives you 14. So you have 14 finger bones, 13 hand bones, technically 5 palm, 8 wrist. So 8 wrist, 5 palm, 14 fingers, giving you a sum total of 27 and 27, okay? Which it's interesting because in Septonaria Gematria, the name Jesus, J-E-S-U-S, the numerical numbers for J-E-S-U-S is 45666, which sums to 27. The interesting thing about Jesus Christ is that he's a part of a Trinity, which just basically means tri-unity, or the 3 that is 1, okay? And this Trinity is never mentioned as a Trinity, right? It never, in the Bible, it never refers to it as a Trinity, but they describe these 3 powers as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost are essentially one unity, right? One unit, but there's 3 parts to it. Now, why is this key, right? Because Jesus equals 27. Well, 27, mathematically speaking, is 3 cubed. So 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Therefore, 3 3s multiplied, you get 27, okay? So that's why our hands have a design structure that allows us to do this and make this perfect equilateral triangle out of our hands. And the thing about the triangle is that it has 3 sides, 1, 2, and 3, which are essentially one shape. It's one thing with 3 different sides. Sorry, I don't know when the mosquitoes are going to be coming out, but as soon as they do, I'm going to want to be getting out of here, but I'll endure it for the video's sake. But yeah, I'm going to smoke a little bit out of my pipe, by the way. We'll probably do another breath here in a minute, but my point is that the number 27 is significant because of our hands, okay? And, sorry, I should probably load the bowl with some tobacco before lighting it up. So, just to bounce back to the law of time for a little bit, and I've mentioned this in older videos, so I've mentioned this number 27, right? Well, what is kin 27? So, because of the Tzolk'in, which is a 260 night-day cycle, which every 260 days it resets and goes back to kin 1, and it's made up of 260 permutations of the 13 lunar tones and the 20 solar seals. Well, kin 27 is not only blue magnetic hand, right, which has a tone of 1, seal 7. Therefore, it is one hand, right? And how many bones do we have in one hand? 27. But it also begins the blue hand wave spell, right? The wave spells are the 13-day cycles, right? Ooh. Sulfur burn that same spot I burned the other day. I'm burning my hands, burning my fingers, the middle finger. It has something to do with my emotions, because a lot of the times I smoke because of emotional reasons, but it's fire, you know. What can you do? Which is funny, because in Septonary, fire sums 21, as well as the word middle. Middle finger. Middle sums 21, as well as fire. And 5. Pyramid sums 21. Anyways, so the interesting thing is that going back to the wave spells is a 13-day cycle that is all about the kin that begins it. So whatever the magnetic tone kin is the purpose of the wave spell. It's the whole purpose of that 13-day cycle. And every 13 days, 20 times we go through each of the 20 solar seals, there are these 13-day cycles that are about the qualities of each of the solar seals. And yeah, kin 27 is blue magnetic hand, aka one hand, because it has a tone as the first tone. Furthermore, the words blue hand, blue sums to 15, hand sums to 12. Blue hand sums 27. So the interesting thing is that for our finger bones, right, we have 14 for this hand, 14 for this hand. Well, 14 is 27's centiger, meaning that if you lay out the number line from 1 to 27, that center digit on the number line will be 14, because you have your first 13 letters, 14 in the center, and your second set of 13 letters. So if you have 14 here and 14 here, you have 28 in total. And what is 28? Well, not only is 28 the length of a lunar phase, a lunar cycle, you know, it is the average, the mean of the two lunar cycles of the sidereal and the synodic, but 28 is also 7 triangulated, meaning that if you add every number from 1 to 7, it sums to 28. And 28 is very interesting because it is a perfect number, meaning that the sum of its proper divisors equals itself. And from 1 to 100, you only have two numbers that do that, and that is number 6, whose divisors are 1, 2, and 3, and itself, you know, but 1, 2, 3 are its proper divisors. 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. And 28, because its divisors are 1, 2, 4, 7, 14, and then itself, 28. And 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is 7, plus 7 is 14, plus 14, the last of the proper divisors, sums to 28. So the first two perfect numbers are 6 and 28, and those are the only ones from, you know, the entire system of 1 to 100, right? And 6.28 is the mathematical ratio of tau. So, or 2 pi, essentially, because pi is 3.14, you know, that's one of the versions of it. And you double that, 3, you double 3, you get 6, you double 14, you get 28, so 6.28. Tau, the first two perfect numbers. Or it's encoding that. So we have 28 finger bones in sum total, right? And that's 7 triangulated. Now, one thing that, another thing that Marty Leeds has spoken of is the fact that if you multiply every number from 1 to 7, basically a multiplication version of triangulation, 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7 is 5,040. And this is actually mentioned in the Bible. If you divide 5,040, basically the multiplication triangulation of 7, by 28, the regular triangulation of 7, you get 180, which is the sum of the angle degrees in all triangles. So there it is again. 27 bones is 3 times 3 times 3, or 3 threes, as well as 5,040 divided by 28, and you get 180. Again, another triangle. Or another way that God encoded that into our very hands, which is exactly why we can do this and create a perfect equilateral triangle. So, you see a lot of like famous people, why they go like this, or why Jay-Z says Hova. Well, his name is Jay-Z. Jehovah. Jehovah. He's invoking one of the holy names of God, and probably just trying to attach it to himself to make himself look good. But he's not a good person. But we're not going to get into that. So these are a lot of the significant numbers when it comes to our hands, right? One interesting thing to note is the number 55. 55 is the number of prime kin in the Tzolk'in. So if you have the numbers 1 to 260, how many prime numbers are between 1 and 260? There are 55 primes. Therefore, you have 55 prime kin, right? And the centiger of 55, meaning, again, that very center number from a number line of 55 is 28, okay? And therefore, the auxiliary numbers, so you have the first 27, the center 28, and the second set of 27. And those two sets of auxiliary 27s in 55 are our hands. And that center 28 is the centiger of 55, okay? Furthermore, the word 3 sums to 28, okay? So that 28 in the center of the two 27s, 3 sums 28. And another interesting thing is that within our skull, including our mandible, our nose bones, all of it, and our entire skull, there are 22 bones. And the funny thing is that there are 7 holes in the skull. So you have your 2 ears, your 2 eyes, your 2 nostrils, and your 1 mouth, right? That's 7 holes in your skull, 7 orifices. And again, 22 bones divided by 7 orifices gives you pi. 22 divided by 7 is pi, just like how the word 7 sums to 22. And within your spine, you have 33 vertebrae. They say that you only have 33 vertebrae at birth, and as you get older, certain bones fuse. But I think the fusing of the vertebrae are because of the toxicity in our environment. And I don't think they necessarily fuse, but they become inflexible. So I think that we always have 33 vertebrae. This whole thing of adults getting fused vertebrae and all that, I think that that's an illusion, right? But at birth, we're born with 33 vertebrae, and this goes back to Jesus Christ, how he lived for 33 years, performed 33 miracles, our holy number 33, etc., or 33, right? If you add the 33 vertebrae of the spine with the 22 in the skull, right, you get 55, right? And that goes back to our own hands. The reason why I mentioned just the spine and the skull is because that's where all your chakras lay. That's where all your main organs, which have your body running as one unit of a system, right? Of course you need your muscles and bones and veins in your legs, but there's no like endocrine, exocrine glands. There's no major glands except the ones that lay along your spine, and that's where your 7 chakras are. Well, the 7th is right above your head, but the 6 are on your spine, right? That's where they lay. And so that's the significance of the spine and the skull together. Because just the spine, each of the sections of the vertebrae, you have your cervical, your thoracic, your lumbar, your sacrum, and your coccyx. The coccyx is your red chakra, the sacrum is your sacral chakra, the orange chakra, your lumbar is your solar plexus, your thoracic is your chest, right? And then your cervical is your neck. So if you add the 22 skull bones, that gives you all 6 chakras of the rainbow, giving you 55 bones. And 55 has the 2 sets of the auxiliary 27, which is your hands, and your hands can make that perfect equilateral triangle, and the word 3 sums 28. Again, this connects back to our Tzolk'in and the prime numbers within the Tzolk'in. So let's look at the phrase, which is the exact quote, right, from Jesus. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. What is this sum in septonary gematria? If you do the septonary values for each of the letters of these words, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. This sums to 103. 103. Well, why is this important? Well, 103 is the 27th prime. Furthermore, you have 206 bones in your whole body, right? 206 bones in a complete human skeleton, right? What is half of those bones? 103. What is the bones of half your hands? Well, if you have 27 and 27, one hand is 27 bones, right? And the 27th prime is 103, which is half your bones. So what is the 28th prime? That sits in the center of those 55 prime kin of the Tzolk'in. That's kin 107, which is blue electric hand, and the electric is the 3rd lunar tone, so the 28th prime is 3 hand. In the phrase, the kingdom of heaven is at hand, there are 7 words, 26 letters. 7 and 26 goes back to our cipher, which is on our hands. Because each of the 28 phalanges connects to each of the 26 letters. And I just remembered this actually. Marty has basically shown us that it goes like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and then, what is it? Yeah, M and then N, and then the other set of 13 letters. But actually, this synchronizes with the, this lunar cycle that I've corresponded, but I'll come back to that later actually after I've thought about it some more, because I actually just had a revelation of that, and it's going to be very important, so I'll talk about it in a later video. But 7 words, 26 letters within the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And what do we write with? I'm going to mention some phrases and tell you the numerical values of these. So carpals, metacarpals, digital bones. Carpals, metacarpals, digital bones, which is all the bones of our hands. The scientific names for these. So you have your 8 carpals, your 5 metacarpals, and your 14 digital bones. The words carpals, metacarpals, digital bones sums 103. Carpals, metacarpals, and digital bones. So you throw in the word and, right, which sums to 6, right? That sums to 109. 109 is the 29th prime. And what prime is 29? 10. Carpals, metacarpals, fingers, and thumb sums to 119. 119 is the sum of 7 times 17, and 17 is the 7th prime. So multiply the 7th prime by the number prime that it is. 17 and 7, 119. Carpals, metacarpals, and the digital bones sums 127. Well, why is this important? 127, kin 127 is blue planetary hand or tin hand. And 127 backwards is 721, and 7 times 3 is 21. Carpals, metacarpals, fingers, and the thumb sums to 137, and 137 is the 33rd prime. Again, 3 and 3. And index, middle, ring, little, thumb. So the names for all of our fingers. You have your index, middle, ring, little, thumb. Those 5 words sum to 107, the 28th prime. The words kingdom of heaven sums to 54. Kingdom of heaven sums 54. 27 plus 27, 54. The kingdom of heaven sums to 72. 72 is not only 27 backwards, but 72 also is the numerical value or the sum of Lord Jesus Christ. The word kingdom sums 23. Heaven sums 23. So kingdom and heaven both sum 23. And 23 and 23 are the total pairs of chromosomes. Are actually just the autosomes. The 2 sex chromosomes are different, and I'm still going to be making a video about the 46 and 2, but I need to do a little bit more studying on that. Supposedly Jesus spoke 46 parables. So the 46, what 46 is representing is the number of chromosomes of an enlightened human being. So the current, set of chromosomes that we have are 22 autosome pairs, and then your 2 sex chromosomes, giving you 44 and 2. But 46 and 2 is essentially that next level of human evolution. You see what I'm saying? And supposedly, and I got to double check this, Jesus spoke 46 parables. The interesting thing about the number 46 is going back to the 90-degree angle from 0 to 90, which that 0 would make it 91 digits, because when it comes to the rule of Kollel, you always consider that 0 as an actual digit, right? Therefore, you get the 91, right? And the 91 is how many days for each Tzolk'in season. Therefore, those zeros along the circle for each 90 degrees would ultimately give you a wheel of 364, with those zeros acting as gaps. And that actually separates each of the tropical seasons. But the very center of 91 is 46. So it's like saying 46 is the very center of things. And what is in the center? A triangle, which is ultimately unity. It is the one. So I'll make a video about 46 later on, which is interesting because if we consider that we have 46 autosome pairs, 46 backwards is 64. And 64 is the number of DNA codons we have. So I definitely think that there is this link between 64 and 46, but again, something I need to study. Yeah, so if we have and I've mentioned this in a previous video, if we have 206 bones in our body, right, and 54 in our hands, the act that is mentioned in the Bible multiple times of the laying on of hands, right, the 54 bones of somebody, sorry, I think that's a mosquito, a mosquito, you know, the laying on of hands would be somebody taking their 54 bones and laying it on the 206 bones of another person. 206 plus 54 is 260, giving us our holy tzolk'in, our harmonic module, right? The archetypal nature of time, right? Which gives qualities to every present moment, right? And it's a language that God designed, and it's encoded in the Bible multiple times. So Marty, don't just boil down time to being this evil thing just because the evil people use it, you know, or the evil people pervert that, right? It's just like illumination. Illumination is not evil, but they pervert that. Doesn't mean that you should totally, you know, throw out, what is it, the baby with the bathwater or whatever. I don't even know if that's the proper usage of that word. But Marty, pay attention, man. The Gregorian is distorted, man. But that doesn't mean that there's not a perfect system there. You've studied the Mayans themselves. Just give Jose Arguelles a chance. I understand that he was compromised in certain ways. Sorry, I'm going off the rails here, but let's get back on track. So what's interesting is that, again, going back to Kin 107 being the 28th prime, or the center prime in the Tzolk'in, right? 107 has a tone of 3 and a seal 7, right? 3 and 7, right? So think of the number 37, right? That's the 12th prime. And its mirror, 73, is the 21st prime. So we have this clear distinction between 12 and 21, which 21 is 7 times 3. Well, the word hand sums 12, okay? The word hand sums 12. And what is the 12th prime? 37. 3.7, the kin code of blue electric hand. As well as the fact that the word 12 sums 28. What the 12 is representing is 4 triangles, right? And the 4 triangles gives us our auxiliary archetypes, or our aux body, AUX, the aux body of the 13 system, making 7, that center, stand apart from the other 12. This is exactly what Septenary Gematria is based on. This is exactly what the Last Supper is depicting. It's the 12 disciples centered around that 7th, which would give you 13, and 7 is the integer of 13. The words 28th prime sums to 81. And 81 is very highly connected to the magic square, the Mun, Yggdrasil, as well as the Tao Te Ching, but I'm not going to talk about those today. I just want to say that 81 is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 to the 4th power. 3 to the 4th power is 81. And 3 and 4, as I've previously spoken on, 3 is heaven, earth is 4. It's the circle and the square. So 3 to the 4th power is 81. 28th prime sums to 81. It's basically saying, heaven and earth is on our hands. Heaven, because of the design behind it, it is of God. And earth, because it is physical. And 3 times 4 is 12, which is what hand sums to. And 12 sums 28, the word. And that gets into actually a very interesting thing about the 12 moons, auxiliary to that 7th moon. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. Remember how I was talking about the words carpals, metacarpals, fingers, and thumbs sums to 119, and 119 being 7 times 17, or the 7th prime times the number prime that it is? Well, the 28th prime number sums to 119. Prime kin 28 sums 84. The words prime kin 28. Prime kin 28 sums 84, which is 28 times 3. And there are 4 words and 19 letters in that. Prime kin 28. Again, 4 words, 19 letters. The word 4 sums 19, and 4 times 19 is 76, and 76 is the angle of the capstone of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Again, going back to the triangle, the pyramid. And the I is the 0, the number 0, because all positive numbers come off on one side, and all negative numbers come off on the other side. But 0 is that unity, that very center. 1 second. It got away. I know I shouldn't probably be killing these mosquitoes, but I can't help it. I really don't like mosquitoes. Yeah, so the word hand, right? The word hand. The numbers for each of the letters in hand, H is 6, A is 1, N is 1, and D is 4. So the numbers for H, A, N, D are 6, 1, 1, 4. What are the septenary values for those 4 numbers? 6, 1, 1, 4. 6, SIX sums 14. 1, ONE sums 8, and you have 2 of those. And then 4, again, like I mentioned before, is 19. So let's add the septenary values for the numbers of the word hand. 14 plus 8 is 22, plus 8 is 30, plus 19 is 49, and 49 is 7 squared. And there are 4 words, 13 letters, which is not 4 and 13 is not only pi backwards, but 4, 13 are values that go back to not only the law of time, but also of our chakra system. The words 14, 8, 8, 19 sums to 127, going back to blue planetary hand, 10 hand. If you multiply the letters of the word hand, 6 times 1 times 1 times 4 is 24. And you can literally use your phalanges of your hand to determine what time it is. I don't know how to do it, but Marty, who was in, I think, the Boy Scouts, they teach you how to do this. And you can look at where the sun is on the horizon and look at how many times your hand goes up to determine, I think, 15-minute increments. You can literally use your hands as a diurnal clock. And the multiplication of the letters of hand sums to 24, which is how many hours are in the diurnal nocturnal cycle. So let's look at the blue hand solar seal. The words 7th seal sums to 49. The 7th seal sums to 67. 67 being the mirror of our 76. As well as the fact that kin 67 is blue lunar hand, and the lunar is the 2nd lunar tone, and that gives us 2 hand. And there are 3 words and 14 letters in the 7th seal. 7th seal blue hand sums 76. And there are 4 words and 19 letters. and the 7th seal blue hand. So basically all we're doing is we're adding the word the at the beginning. The 7th seal blue hand is 94. So 7th seal sums 49, and the 7th seal blue hand sums 94. And why is the 94 important? Well, not only is kin 94 white electric wizard, which electric is the 3rd tone, wizard is the 14th seal, giving us a kin code of 3.14, but 94 is the mirror of 49, which is 7 squared. And remember I said that we have 7 on our hands because of the triangulation of 7 giving us 28. The fact that blue hand is the 7th seal, but 7th seal sums 49, the 7th seal blue hand sums 94, and the what is it? I think it's the Hermetic character, the Hermetic archetype of Hermes Trismegistus. Okay, the name Hermes sums to 28, as well as the name of Thoth, which supposedly Thoth and Hermes are the same character, or the same cat. And Trismegistus sums to 66. So Hermes sums 28, and Trismegistus sums 66. 28 plus 66 is 94. And the interesting, where we get the 66 from and how that relates to our hands, Marty described this. If you look at each of the numbers for your fingers, right? So 1 plus 2 plus 3 sums to 6. 4 plus 5 plus 6 is 15. Break that down. 1 plus 5 is 6. 7 plus 8 plus 9 is 24. Break that down. 2 plus 4 is 6. 10 plus 11 plus 12 is 33. 3 plus 3 is 6. And 13 and 14 give you 27. And 2 plus 7 is 9. And the reason why the thumb is 13 and 14 is because not only are our thumbs the center, basically signifying that it's the diameter to the circumference, making pi, right? But you can also think of the middle fingers as that, but the thumb is different. It stands apart from the other 4. 13 and 14 is encoding our holy ratio of pi. Because not only is, if you reverse 13 and reverse 14, you get 3141, but also because 1314 or 1314 is saying that the circle's circumference would be 3.14 to a diameter of 1. So 1314, 1314. Thumbs up. The thumb is different. It's significant. Everything's good. Let me see real quick. So yeah, you add up, sorry, I got distracted. You look at all the numbers of the fingers, right? And then you break them down. So 6, and then 15 breaks down into 6, 24 breaks down into 6, 33 breaks down into 6, and 27 breaks down into 9. Well, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 9 is 33. Okay, so 33 plus 33 is 66. And how many books are in the Holy Bible? 66. And kin 66 is white magnetic world bridger, going back to our rainbow and the combination of heaven and earth. So that's where you get the 28 and 66 of Hermes Trismegistus. Hermes is Mercury. He's the personification of duality. Okay, he's Gemini and Virgo. Those archetypes, and those are dualistic. Okay, and so how is our body dualistic? It's mirrored with our 2 hands. They're mirrors of each other. That's why Gemini rules the hands. So yeah, 28 plus 66 is 94, and there are 5 words and 22 letters. 5 words in the 7th seal blue hand. 5 words for our 5 fingers and 22 letters. 22 is encoding the 2.2, that is the square root of 5. And this actually connects back to the Tzolk'in, because on the Tzolk'in, there are each of these harmonic sets made up of these mathematical squares upon the design of the Tzolk'in. And the thing about it is that the tones of every set of 4 of the magic square of the Tzolk'in will sum to 28. And if you add the kin numbers of those, they always sum to 522. So let's look at the word prime, because I want to go over the 28th prime kin, which is again 3-hand, right? But let's see if there's any sort of connection between prime numbers in and of themselves with this 107, right? The word prime in septenary gematria sums 19. "19 is the 8th prime. How many carpals do we have? We have 8. And if you add up the metacarpals with your phalanges, you get 19. Plus 8, 19 is the 8th prime. So prime sums to 19, which is the 8th prime. And 9 and 18 give us 27. Or sorry, not 9. Did I say 9 and 18? I meant 8 and 19. My bad. So speaking on the prime kin, right? Because there are 55 prime kin, 28 being the center, that's blue electric hand. It's the 28th prime. The word kin, K-I-N, sums 9. The numbers for each of the letters of K-I-N, K is 3, I is 5, N is 1, 351. 351 is also encoding 351, and 351 is the, what is it? The squaring of 19. 19 times 19 is 351. Or no, sorry, the triangulation of 26, sorry. 351 is if you add every number from 1 to 26, you get 351. Kin's numbers for its letters are 351, and if you add every number from 1 to 26, you get 351. And the thing about the Tzolk'in is that it's based on the number 260, which is made up of 10 sets of 26. And there are 26 letters of our English alphabet. So the words prime kin, prime sums to 19, kin sums to 9. Add those up, you get 28. Prime kin sums 28. And what is the center prime kin? Prime 28. And there are in prime kin, there are 2 words and 8 letters. 2 words, 8 letters. And there's another interesting thing you can, when you break down the numbers 14 and 28 through decimal parity, Pythagorean addition, Kabbalistic reduction, etc. 14 phalanges for one hand, 1 plus 4 is 5, and 28, or 2 plus 8, is 10. So prime kin, prime sums 19, kin sums 9. What are the 19th and the 9th solar seals? First off, they're antipodal, meaning that they're oppositional. They stabilize and challenge each other. But solar seal 19 is blue storm, and the 9th seal is red moon. And the words storm sums 26, or sorry, storm sums 21, and moon sums 6. 21 plus 6 is 27. which is where we got those solar seals from 19 and 9, the numerical values for the two words prime and kin. And prime kin sums 28, right? 28. And the auxiliary numbers of 55, with 28 being the center, is 27 and 27. You remember, going back to our hands. So remember when I said the words blue hand sums 27? You know, so blue hand sums 27, the number of bones in our hand. Blue sums to 15, hand sums to 12. 15 times 12 is 180. And in the phrase blue hand, there are two words, 8 letters. So there's this, I forget what culture it comes from, but it's called the Hamsa hand. And the Hamsa hand is essentially a symbol of a hand with an eye in the center, with the eye on the palm, okay? And Hamsa hand sums 27. Eye of palm sums 27. Human hand sums 27. And the solar seal 12, human, and the solar seal 7, hand, are analog to each other. They're support powers of each other. And furthermore, what's also interesting is that the words yellow and blue, yellow sums 17, blue sums 15, so blue yellow together would be 32, and human hand sums 27, and the solar seals are exactly, with their colors, yellow human and blue hand. So yellow human, blue hand sums 59. With the colors summing 32, and the seals summing 27, and Jesus equals 27, Christ equals 32. 59. Yellow human, blue hand. Hand wave sums 27. Good hand, 27. Jesus equals 27. The words blue magnetic hand sums 57. The words both 57 and 27 both sum to 48. Now, why is this important? Because and this is something I'm going to have to study as well, but in the yoga philosophy, our brow chakra is made up of two halves of 48. 48 and 48. And I think this is what's connected to the 46 and 2. So you have your 46 autosomes of the enlightened human being with your 2 sex chromosomes, giving you a total of 48. And that's where you get the 48 and 48, because every human being is basically one gender, but made up of 2 dualities of both genders, right? Inside, in the brain, in the heart, right? And this sums to, these 2 halves give you a sum total of 96, and I'm kin 96. So blue magnetic hand sums 57, and both 57 and 27 sum to 48, and 48 and 48 are the halves. If you take away the color in blue magnetic hand and you just look at the phrase magnetic hand, you get 42. 42 going back to 3 times 14, or, you know, the 3 14s, right? And the word 6 sums 14, so 6, 6, 6 is 3 14s, giving you 42, which is the degrees of the rainbow. And what is the rainbow? It's the bridging. That's why we pray like this, with our hands together, because it's unifying the opposites. 19/9 sums 42, which is the same as prime kin. So it's connected to the colors of the rainbow, and therefore our chakras and brainwaves. Lamb of God, Psalms 27, and Jesus is referred to as the Lamb of God. Light equals 27, as well as white. So white light is 27 and 27, the white light of our hands. And that's why the eye is on the palm, right? Because it is the light of our hands, is the light of Jesus, the design, because the light contains the information, right? The rainbow comes from the light, and the light is the information, going back to how, I was talking about in the previous video with the number 114, and that being the numerical values for the word and, A-N-D is 114, and that goes back to the 6 colors and the 7 brainwaves and everything like that, and how and backwards is DNA, and that's 411, and DNA, and 411 means information. Like, what's the 411? It's DNA, and that just goes back to the rainbow, which is made up of pure white light, right? So that is in our DNA. It's in our hands, and Jesus is the light. He is the sun. And both white and light, Psalm 27. And this is just interesting. So we have the eye on the palm, and what does it say in the Bible? The eye is what is it? The light of the body is the eye. The light of the body is the eye. And what is an anagram for palm? Lamp. And there's always that picture on the Hermit Tarot card, right? Where the hermit is holding the lamp, right? And where does the word hermit come from? I'm not sure if it's Hermes comes from hermit or if hermit comes from Hermes, but it's the same thing. Lamp, palm. Demigod, Psalms 28. And demigod is the concept of somebody who is divine, in a physical body. Half God, half mortal. And that's exactly what we are. We are all demigods. Yeah, this is really interesting here. So the thing about septenary gematria is I'm not signifying that because the English alphabet, and it's connected to the English language, and, because the English language comes from Anglish, which is like Anglo-Saxon and stuff. It's just, there's a lot of times where people will, think that I'm basically saying that there's, a superiority because of, white people or whatever, even though they're not white. Because, I say that the English alphabet is, basically the most refined version of the alphabet, because essentially what the English alphabet is it's the most perfected form of all the alphabets, because it's based upon the number 26, and that's what's key about it, right? It's not the English language that's important. Relatively speaking, the English language is no different than any other language. It just happens to be the one that I speak, Primarily, I speak a little bit of Espanol, but that's beside the point. Again, it's just the alphabet, which is interesting because English sums 32 and alphabet sums 27, which sums to 59, giving us the exact same distinction as Jesus and Christ, 27 and 32. So let's look at some other words in other languages using the septenary English cipher. And forgive me, I'm not going to say some of these because I'm pretty sure I would botch the pronunciation, but I'll just describe it. So el mano humana, or el mano humana, the human hand in Espanol, sums 28. The word siete, the Espanol for 7, is 28. De 17, which I understand that 17 means 17, but in certain cases, the word de, which means of or about, is put in there with it. So de 17 or of 17 means, or sums to 59. And Jesus Christ is of the number 17 because 59 is the 17th prime. If you triangulate 17 and add every number from 1 to 17, you get 153, and that goes back to the Vesica Pisces. And that verse, and what is it? I think John 21:11, talking about the catch, the miraculous catch of 153 fish, right? It just goes back to the measurements of sacred geometry in the Vesica Pisces. In French, the words blue hand, which is, I think, is man bleu, sums 28. In German, blue hand sums 28. It's like blaue Hand. Yeah, blue hand in German sums. So blue hand in French and German both sum 28. Human hand sums human hand in French sums 33, which again goes back to the 33 of our hands. Human hand in German, menschliche Hand, sums 55. 27, did I say French? I meant German. 27 in German, 27 sums 55. You know, and remember, 55, 28 is that center, but the 27s are the auxiliary, right? And so 27 in German sums 55. The word 7 in French, I think it's sept, sums 21, which is 3 times 7. And this goes back into like casinos and, you know, the jackpot and blackjack and all that. I don't want to talk about that today, but it's very significant that sept sums 21, and this is where we get the number for the word for this is where we get the word September, right? Because sept means 7, and so technically September is the 7th month. Which, if that's the case, then we just passed 7/11. And it's interesting in the show Game of Thrones, as well as the books of the series of A Song of Ice and Fire, the churches that they go, that is of the faith of the Andals, which is like certain of the houses in Game of Thrones, the churches are of the 7 gods. So there's like a religion that's based on 7 gods, and the churches are called septs, right? And the preachers who preach in the septs are called septons. And it's all based upon a religion of 7 deities, which is 3 archetypes of male archetypes, 3 female archetypes, and a 7th, which is the mysterious, because it can be any one of them, right? So of the 3 masculine archetypes, you have the father, the smith, and the warrior. Of the 3 feminine archetypes, you have the maiden, the mother, and the crone, right? Which goes back to the, the Wiccan goddess trinity, right? And the 7th is the stranger, right? Because again, the stranger can be both good and bad. It can be either or, and that's the thing about the 7 of the 6 is that it can be any one of them. Going back to the 6 colors of the rainbow, you have 3 primary colors, 3 secondary colors, and that 7th is the pure white light. Snow White and the 6 dwarves, not 7. 17 in French sums 33. 17 is 33's centiger, and that's very key when it comes to Tzolk'in, as well as Christ. And there's an Old Norse word called Sven. It means young man. I believe it's a name in Old Norse. Sven. And that's essentially the word 7 without the first E. So it's S-V-E-N. And Sven sums 17. And 17 is the 7th prime. So looking at the words electric hand for our 28th prime kin, electric hand sums 47. So basically it's just the same thing but without the color blue. Electric hand sums 47, right? or three-hand. And 47 is the sum of the words heaven, earth. Heaven and earth sums 53, which is 3 words, 14 letters. Heaven and earth sums 53, which is 3 words and 14 letters. 53 is the 16th prime. And I don't have really time to get into any of that right now, but 53 is very significant with both Christ and the Tzolk'in. The words hands of light sum 53, which is heaven and earth. Lights of hands sums 59. And 53 and 59 are the 16th and 17th prime, which when you add 16 and 17, you get 33, 17 being the centager, and 16 being of the ox body. And the words 16, 17 sums 72, which is the same value for Lord Jesus Christ. And again, going back to the fact that 16, 17, and 33 are all numbers associated with Christ. (16) and 17 sums 78, and 78 is not only the total number of cards within the tarot, 78 is also the triangulation of 12. And what is 16 and 17 representing? What is it encoding? It's representing the centager of 33 and its ox body. And what was the ox body of 13? 12. Jesus Christ was surrounded by 12 disciples. And 12 triangulated is 78. So it's connecting the ox body of 13 and the ox body of 33. And 13 and 33 are both connected because they are both red Skywalkers. You have 13 Skywalker and 7 Skywalker. And if you were to have 2 sets of alphabets, the, what is it? The next 7, right, would be 33. So it'd go, G is 7, T is 20, and then that next would be, the next G, that would be 33. So it's the third 7. You know, if you had more than one set of alphabets of septonary gematria. There are 55 primes within the Tzolk'in, right? 55 is the 10th Fibonacci number. And 55 for 55 is 55, the 10th Fibonacci number. And if you add 10 onto 55, you get 65. And the reason why that's significant is because for the 55 primekin of the Tzolk'in, you have 11 chromatics, and a chromatic is a cycle of 5, right? And in between each of those sets of 5 primes is a perfect center kin, and those are what I call the prime gaps, and there's 10 of them, right? So the 55 primes and the 10 prime gaps, right, together make 65, and that's how many harmonics you have. Because 55 is the 10th Fibonacci number. Of the 55 primes, there are 10 prime gaps. Together they make 65, which that's the total number of harmonics are in the Tzolk'in, sets of 4, and the centager of 65 is 33. This goes back, again, to Christ. It goes back to the codons of the human body, because that center 33 of 65 stands apart from the other 64, and those 64 codons of the human body, the human genetic, DNA, the genome, right, goes back to the 64 squares of the square of Mercury, right? That's the chessboard, and there's tons of mathematics within the chessboard. That's how many hexagrams are in the I Ching, 64, right? And that's how many of the 3 breath codes there are. There are sets of 3 breaths that I'm still discovering that are connected to each of the codons. So that means that we can literally change the genetic code through our epigenetics, right, through our breath. And what was the other thing that I was going to mention? Yeah, of the magic square of Mercury, which has 64 squares because it's an 8x8 magic square, right, of Mercury, each row and column And no, it's an even number, so there's no diagonals, no exact diagonals, but each of the columns and the rows sum to 260. So 260 is a very prominent number with the magic square of Mercury. That's actually, the magic square of Mercury is how Jose Arguelles actually figured out the strands of the Tzolk'in. And these are all universal mathematics. They're out there in the world, and they're in our hearts, right? They're in our atria. That's something I'll talk about later because I just discovered it today. Yeah, the words kin 107 sums 76. Kin 107, the 28th prime, sums 76. Kin 107, the words, 76. And there are 5 words, 21 letters. The word 5 sums 21. And middle, pyramid, 5, fire, which is where pyramid gets its pyr from, fire in the middle, right? Pyramid, fire in the middle. The fire in the heart of Christ in those ancient paintings of him where he's pointing to his atria, right? And 5 words, 21 letters in kin 107, which sums 76. 5 words, 21 letters, like fire, 5, middle, pyramid. And 21 is also 3 times 7. The words 5 scores and 7 sum 76. And if you didn't know, a score is 20. Five scores and 7, 76. And if 5 sums to 21, the word, and if we have 5 fingers for each hand, 21 give you 42. Of the rainbow, the bridging of heaven and earth. Yo, this is pretty wild here. So, again, going back to the mathematics of 17 and the triangulation of 17, giving us 153, the miraculous draft of fish, right? And that giving us the number, what is it? The 265 and over, I think it's like 265 over 153 is the ratio, or 265 to 153, giving us the measurements of the Vesica Pisces, you know, what is it? If you divide 265 by 153, it's what is it? 1.73. Hang on. Let me. 265 divided by 153. Yeah, that gives us 1.73, and that is the square root of 3. And what is the Vesica Pisces making? 2 circles superimposed where the circumference are touching each other's centers, and that gives us 3 distinct parts. But the Ichthys fish in the center, made up of 2 circles. It's encoding the Trinity, right? And if you make the height of the Vesica Pisces 265 and the width 153 as it's encoded in the Bible, right, of the 153 fish, you get the square root of 3. And Christ is that center, the unity of the 3. And the words 16 plus 17 equals 32.